Good to go. Let's do it.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 9 of Brothers Y'all Good. My name is Mike. I'm here with my co-host Jason, and we're happy to welcome you to this episode of Brothers Y'all Good. So as we start off every week, Jason, let me ask you first, my brother, you good?
I am good. It's been one of those weeks. I'm learning to be grateful for whatever I get. You know what I'm saying?
Amen.
I was at a homegoing service today, and just a reminder, you know what I mean, that number one, the scripture says death is the way of all flesh. So we know, all of us are going to have our date with that. We all have an appointment. I don't know when it's going to happen, and it's just important to be reminded of that from time to time. So I'm grateful to be here 100%. And yeah, that's good. How about that? How about you, brother? You good?
I'm good. I was concerned, this week I started a trial. We were picking a jury yesterday, and I was concerned about being able to get down here from work at the end of the day and get logged in and everything. And then my trial got continued. We had some witness scheduling issues that couldn't get resolved, so we couldn't get the case tried this week like we thought. And so we released all the jurors and then had some flexibility and was able to try to get down here in plenty of time, get some stuff done, get some food in my belly. And so I miss the opportunity to be in trial. That's always an exciting time at our court.
Sure.
But I love the fact that I don't have that obligation way in front of me, and I wasn't worried about trying to get folks done so I could get on public transportation, get back down here. So I'm good, but I'm especially good because of who our guest is tonight, because we ain't got no guest. But that doesn't mean we're not going to have an amazing conversation, because I'm going to get a chance to actually ask you some questions.
Yes, sir.
About the amazing life of Jason Shanley. But before I do that, Jason, why don't you tell everybody what the podcast is all about?
Absolutely. Happy to do so, man. Brothers Y'all Good is more than just a podcast. This is a real talk space where Black men can come through, open up, and get honest about mental health. This show dives deep into the stuff that matters: faith, fatherhood, fellowship, and all the ups and downs of navigating life as a Black man today. From dealing with stress, anxiety, and trauma to breaking through the stigma that's been holding us back, this podcast keeps it real with personal stories, expert advice, and practical tools to help you find peace and strength. But this ain't just talk. It's about building each other up, sharing experiences, and creating a healthier, stronger community. So pull up, tune in, and let's have the conversations that heal. Together, we're breaking the silence, overcoming barriers, and helping every brother to be able to say, yeah, brother, I'm good. So welcome to Yeah, Brothers, I'm Good. And now I'll turn it over to our co-host, Michael.
The moment I've been waiting for. And so I get a chance to ask Jason about his amazing life, because for those of you that spend any time in the community here in San Diego, if you've been out and about, you've seen Jason somewhere. He's always repping either his nonprofit or his employer, San Diego Fire, or all the many organizations that he supports, just because he's an active member of the community. But what a lot of people don't know, and what I've only started to learn, is what led him on this path and what challenges he's faced along the way. So hopefully during the next hour or so, we're going to get a chance to talk about his past a little bit, as much as he wants to talk about. We'll talk about the things that he's accomplished and the things that he still wants to accomplish, and some of the challenges that he's faced along the way. So, but Jason, I want to start. Tell everybody where the story of Jason Shanley starts. Where did you grow up, and how did you get to San Diego?
Good question. All right. Well, so the story began September 9th, 1970 in Ramsey County, Minnesota, St. Paul, Minnesota. I am the child of James Walton Millsap and Carol Shanley. I was born a happy young man, no risk and complications. I came out walking. I was a precocious young lad. No, I'm kidding. But so I grew up in Minnesota. Grew up in a fairly mixed community. I always say Minnesota is an incredible place to be from. I have fond memories of Minnesota. I still have a sibling that lives there now, and some cousins. Yeah, so from there, actually, what got me to San Diego was I started doing some things I didn't have no business doing at an early age. I started drinking and smoking weed. I was smoking cigarettes when I was like 9 years old. There he is right there. That's your boy right there. Your boy, look, and I always had a big head. You see that collar? You see that collar all stretched out? Story of my life, man. And boy, I miss that hair. What I wouldn't do to have a bad hair day now. I started smoking cigarettes and sneaking liquor and stuff like that. Even at this age, I was sneaking liquor. There was liquor in our house from time to time, and I would sneak it, and that led to a drinking problem. I had a problem with alcohol, and so at 15 years old, my mother took me to dinner at the Best Western Steakhouse. You know what I'm saying? Bought me my favorite little meal, and she said, "I'm getting ready to move to Arizona, and you drink, and I ain't taking no drunks with me nowhere." And so I said, well, she said, you need to go to rehab. So I did that. I went to rehab at 15. That was January of 1986. I wasn't 16 years old yet. I went to rehab, and I started my recovery journey January 6, 1986, or January 9th, I believe it was. January 9th, 1986. And I've been sober ever since. Ever since I was 15 years old. I'll be 55 years old this year. So, and then we moved to Arizona. We moved there. That was a real good friend of mine in that photo right there, man. That was me I think that might have been my first year clean, crazy as that is. Always been a purple and gold fan, Minnesota Vikings right there, baby. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. Minnesota Vikings. I was a Chuck Foreman fan. Yeah, that was me celebrating one of my recovery milestones. We moved to Arizona. My mother wanted to spend time with my grandfather. And so we came out here with my grandfather, and he ended up passing away. We had some neighbors that we knew that ended up moving to California some years before us. And so we came here from Arizona. We drove over here to visit them, and we loved it. I always say we got tricked by the palm trees. And so my mother packed up everything in Arizona because my grandfather had passed away, so we didn't really have any reason to be there anymore. And we moved out west, and here we are, man. My mother started working at some apartments in East San Diego. Here's a funny story. Well, ironic. The tales of the light-skinned folks. So when we were going to high school, we enrolled in the Performing Arts School. The O'Farrell School of Creative and Performing Arts.
Right.
But in order to be there, I always picked whenever we signed up for anything, we always identified as Black. My whole life, there was no mix, it was always Black. Well, we weren't able to get into the school being Black, so we changed our paperwork, and I went to school as a white guy. So they had to, yeah. So that was funny. So I went to the Performing Arts School, graduated, and here I am. But that's how I ended up in California, man. It was a death that happened, and some friends that moved here, and we came and got tricked by the palm trees. And so here I am. This year makes 40 years that I've been in San Diego.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go back just a little bit, though. You mentioned your involvement with alcohol, your involvement with weed. Let me ask first, do you spend any time thinking back on those days and what that life was like for you at that time? Or is that so far in your past that you let that go?
No, I remember, because I don't ever want to go back to that. So I can't never forget what that was like, because I don't want to ever go back. You know, the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous has a section that talks about young people, and it talks about how some folks are so young that when they get into recovery, the bottom that many people fall to, and when they're addicts and alcoholics, they hit a bottom. Well, the big book says that for young people, sometimes the bottom comes up and hits them, and that's what happened to me. The bottom came up and hit me, and I don't ever want to forget that. So I think about it often, not in a dread sense, but just in a, man, don't forget where you came from.
Right. And so to be that involved, that your mom's going to tell you, hey, I ain't taking no alcoholics with me. What do you think it was that was fueling you back at that time, that you thought that's what you needed to do?
It was fun. And I know now, I didn't know then, but I know now I have an addictive personality. So I tend to, if I get into something, I'm all the way into it. Like I'm 100%. You know, one of the things, people laugh because I play bagpipes, and people laugh, and people know that if I start something, I'm going to do it. And so that's one of the things that yeah, that's funny right there. You see them grades though. You see them grades. That was,
I left them on there, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that was June of 1989, the year I graduated high school, man, from the School of Creative and Performing Arts. So I graduated with a 3.57, holler back. You know what I mean? Don't trip, potato chip.
That's
and I just graduated. What's that?
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, man. And so, I got an addictive personality. So when I drank, I liked the way it made me feel. It was fun. I didn't realize that's really more so what it was. It didn't do anything for me. I mean, obviously, I got in a lot of trouble drinking. I mean, there's just my mother, like, I mean, it was one night I came home drunk, and I always drank to get drunk. I never I envy people that can, you see people twirling their little sniffers, and then they sniff the liquor, and, it look all classy. Or, I do like to watch if I'm on the plane. One time I was on the plane and I saw a bartender video of really flamboyant bartenders that make really cool drinks. And so, they shave the ice down and do all this stuff, and they put it in the cup and make it spin. And I like watching stuff like that. It's really cool. But for me, I could never drink like that. I could never take a little cup and then, you sip on it for 45 minutes because it costs $45. I'm taking it to the dome. You know what I'm saying? I want to boo-boo on myself when I'm getting twisted. You know what I mean? It's whatever. And I don't know what happened. There's times I would drink and come home with different clothes on and don't know how I got that. I mean, this was before I was 15 years old, tripping like that. Came home one night and I was drunk, and I forgot I had to do the dishes. So I was down there trying to do the dishes, holding on to the sink with one hand, and my mother came to, and then I'm like, man, I can't do these dishes. So I took the dishes in the dish drain from the sink and was bringing them up to my closet, and half the dishes fell down the stairs, and I just kept going up and put the dishes in my dirty clothes and tried to go to bed. My mother was like, you're tripping. You're going to rehab, homie. You know what I'm saying? And here we are, man. I ended up going to rehab. So
okay.
Yeah.
No, that
crazy.
When did you first realize you had an addictive personality, or could put that name to it?
I think I recognized it early. Maybe I knew that it was something, but when I really realized it was as an adult, I just started seeing patterns in my life that I would, there was a time. So one of the things I did when I stopped drinking, I smoked cigarettes. And so, I was addicted to cigarettes, and then I wanted to quit cigarettes, and I started chewing tobacco, and I was all in. Me and my homeboy used to have chewing tobacco contests to see who could put the most chew in their mouth at one stupid. And most people could take a can of chew and it'll last them 3 days or 2 days. Man, I'm doing 2-3 cans a day. I'm everything I do is just expensive. It's dumb. And so I just started realizing stuff like that over time. Man, I don't have the discipline and it's not in me to do. And the big book, actually, in the preface to the big book, it talks about that science can't even figure out what happens when people like me who do something and just dive all the way in. There's no help for that outside of what they found helped, which is Alcoholics Anonymous, one alcoholic working with another. So just over time, I just realized, yeah.
Okay. And so you're done with high school. Well, tell us a little bit about this time.
I was actually a crazy thing, man. That was when I was a barber. I was a barber at this time, and that was outside the barbershop on El Cajon Boulevard. I decided one day for the first time in my life to let my hair grow as long as it could go. And when that bun got let down, my hair was down past my shoulders. And I had never done that before. I just did it just for the heck of it. I walked into the fire station looking like that when I first started working, when I first was on my pursuit. And my mentor, Captain Haynes, saw me like that. I introduced myself to him. I just shared this story today. Again, I share it all the time, but he shook my hand and he said, son is a brother. He said, son, let me tell you two things. I said, oh, yes, sir. This was the first day I met him at Station 23 at Briarwood and Paradise Valley Road, Station 32, sorry. And he said, I wouldn't hire you for two reasons. I said, what do you mean? He said, number one, your hair is too long. Firefighters don't wear their hair like that. He said, the second thing is your handshake is weak. I know you're not serious. I was like, what? And so what I tell all the young people now, what you think I did? I went home and shaved my head. Absolutely. I went home and shaved my hair and shaved it down to the white meat because I learned early on that winners do what they have to do and losers do what they want to do. And so I've been able to have an illustrious career because I decided one day to go and cut my hair. This is a really dope picture. This was after our academy graduation. This is me and our newest fire chief. We came on the job together. I was his barber at one time, believe it or not. And you see what happens when you sit in my chair, you end up like that. So ladies and gentlemen, it's a fair warning. There's something wrong with my clippers. But this was when we graduated the academy in 2000, and this was 2024. Here's what's really ironic. The picture on the right from 2024 was a picture that we took after we did an interview on StoryCorps about Chief Logan's life. I got to interview him, and we just got a call that we're going to end up on NPR. Our interview is being featured on NPR this week, which is like, what? Like, what? You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy. So that picture on the right is that. So just super blessed. This career has just done so much for me. I'm so proud of our fire chief. Love that man with all my heart. He's one of the dopest, most dependable people, and you know him, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. So,
without a doubt, and he is every bit of that. And there's a reason why he hangs with you, right? There's a reason why it's been a quarter of a century, and y'all have been hanging together because he recognizes who you are. But you've always been hanging out with stars, man. That's who you are. That's how you roll.
You're doing too much now. You're doing too much.
Just saying.
Yeah, that was in Hollywood, man. That was in Hollywood, man. And Ice-T came up to me and asked me, could he take a picture with me? I said, man, get away from me, homie. And me and Ice-T. That was in Los Angeles, man. That must have been in like 1998. That was before the fire department. That was like 97. 96, 97, something like that. And I forgot where we were at. I forgot where, maybe Venice Beach or something like that. I don't remember.
That's what it looked like. It looks like you're out by Venice.
I think that's where that was. Yeah.
And he ran up to you and said, I need a picture and give me that.
He said, hey, homie, let me get a flick. I said, man, all right, man, I guess, man, whatever.
You knew who the future star was going to be. So I appreciate all that. And
I said, man, I'll see what I can do, man. I'll see what I can do, man.
Right. If you got time, right? Because you're a busy man. You got stuff going on.
Come on, man. I mean, come on. You know?
Right.
Come on. Yeah.
Because, and you're going to act like, well, I was just doing that for him. But that was like that was your pose. That was your style. That's how you roll.
You pulling out all the stuff today, man. That's crazy. That's me and my boy Ruben. That was we were at the oh my gosh, it's slipping my mind. I keep wanting to say the Beastie Boys. That's
Cypress Hill.
Cypress Hill. God, I couldn't think of it at all. Yeah, that was dope. Hey, make sure them folks get a zoom in of that Ben Franklin right there, though. I had the Ben Franklin on, man, I had to sport the LA hat. That was kind of my thing. Double ear piercings, the long beard. I was tripping. Yeah, that was my boy Ruben. Yeah, my boy Ruben. He's still rocking now, but yeah, we was with Cypress Hill. We got a chance to be with I got a chance to hang out with a lot of like people like that during my life. It's really dope. Really.
No, and that's part of it, right? Because you talk about this life. Hey, grew up in Minnesota, went to Arizona, palm trees, got us in San Diego. But even early on, you're hanging out with people doing stuff. So talk to the audience a little bit about what it is about your personality that you find yourself around people all the time. That's who you are. You are not a guy that keeps his light underneath a bushel basket. You are out and about.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about what that life is like for you.
Man, to be honest, I just love people, Mike. You know what I'm saying? It's like meeting you. Like, I mean, who would have ever thought I'd be cool with? I mean, you're a whole judge. You know what I mean? You're like a superior court judge. That, you know what I'm saying? And like, in maybe many people's eyes, like I'm just I was a captain, I think, when I met you, but I'm just a fire captain. And you're a judge. Like what? We don't have nothing in common in terms of that, right? But that's what people tend to think maybe. But for me, I say, man, I don't really care what you do for a living. I just want to get to know you. Like, you know, I've never asked you for anything. I asked you for advice one time, and this was like recent after all the years I've known you, but that's not why I want to be your friend. I don't call you to, you know, when you see me calling, you don't look at my call and go, man, this dude gonna want something. You know what I mean? You just, hey, what's up? You know, but I'm interested in people. I love people. And so a lot of that comes from because of my theological mind frame. But before, it's just, I love people. I just love to find out stuff about people. That's something that I've grown to really enjoy, is meeting people and hearing their stories. And so, you know, the scripture says that people are created in the image of God, the imago Dei. And so what I've learned over time, I used to be super judgmental as a Christian. I was the type of person that would make judgments about people and call people names and, you know, whatever. But I realized one day I had an epiphany, thank God, that it was like, man, people are created in the image of God. And even if we disagree fundamentally on lifestyle, you know, opinions, whatever, it doesn't matter. When I meet you, I have a responsibility to honor the image that you're created in. And so I need to know your name and your, you know, where you from? What's your favorite color? Like, you know, how'd you grow up? Whatever. Like, those are the things I want to get to know about people before I find out anything else. And then from that came me becoming a barber. And that's how I made my money. You know, barbers know a lot of stuff. I know a lot of stuff about people that their spouses probably don't know. But that's because you spend that intimate time with somebody when they're cutting your hair, that you know, get to know them that way. So my love for people, there it is. That's my boy Steve. He actually used to be the president of the NFL Players Association. That was back at Looking for Zoes at 32nd and Main. That was before I went to. And if you notice, right behind me, if you notice that picture behind me, I always keep a picture of my wife hanging up in my workspace, and that's her right over my right shoulder right there. No, that's actually Looking for Zoes. I'm sorry. That is Looking for Zoes. I mean, that's not Looking for Zoes. That's CNR's Unique Hair Design, Craig Allen's barbershop, but that still is my Master Trip. But I kept a picture of my wife in the shop. But it was stuff like this, man, getting to meet brothers like Steve, and Stephen Pierce is his name, and just a really good dude. And from there, you meet other people. I've gotten a chance to. We went to training camp, me and a couple of guys, my buddy Lawrence, and I don't know if my buddy Weejay was there, but the guys that I was barbers with, we went to the Chargers training camp way back in the day before Junior Seau, rest in peace, passed away. And we were cutting hair. I cut Junior's hair, and Rodney Harrison was one of my clients. I cut his hair. I used to go to his house and cut his hair. And Jimmy Davis was a football player that I always wondered what happened to him. But so the barbershop just got me to meeting people, and I started to see like how cool that was to just have a wide range of friends. And so here we are.
Amen. You talked a little bit about theology. Tell me about this, brother.
Oh man, God bless it. Man, take that hideous. I look like Chucky. So I was a part of a choir, the Blessed Assurance Baptist Singers, or Blessed Assurance Baptist Church. I can't remember. Maybe it was the Blessed Assurance Singers. That was back, man. Yeah, that's crazy. That's the weirdest look I've ever seen in my life. That's literally one of the worst pictures I've ever seen in my life. But that was when we got choir robes. We had never had choir robes before, and we got one. And I wish I still knew where that robe was. But yeah, we used to get down, bro. We used to shut it down back in the day at Blessed Assurance, man. That Pastor Gregory Brown, who's still around, and yeah, and a lot of the other singers that were a part of the choir, we're still friends today. Some of them still sing at Bayview now, or some of them sing at Bayview now. Some of my friends, and you've met them before, and just probably don't remember me saying where I know them from, but yeah.
Yeah. And speaking about people that I've met, tell me about this young lady.
Oh, turn off the lights and light a candle. You know what I'm saying? Hey, man, that's my girl right there, man. That's my beautiful wife. That's Marla Denise. And yeah, man.
So tell everybody how y'all met.
Yeah, man, 93, man. I was just out and about doing my thing. She rolled up on me, much like Ice-T. It was like, hey, man, I'm a little nervous. No, I'm just kidding. That's not, I let me tell it. That's what happened. So the short story was she's a native of San Diego, been here her whole life. And it was like 1993. Me and my homeboy JoJo were kicking it with two friends of mine. I was working at Costco. My boy JoJo was in the Navy. I got off from work. And JoJo we just became friends. He was in the Navy. We met outside of the Navy. Obviously, he just became real cool. We adopted him as our family. I was staying with my mother at the time, and he just lived with us, man. We was cool. So we went out one day after work, me, my boy JoJo, and two of my friends from Costco, and my homegirl was like, hey, Shelly O'Neal, man, I owe my entire marriage to Shelly O'Neal, man. We went out, and she said, hey, before we was gonna go to the movies. Before we go to the movies, I want to stop by one of my friends' house. Man, Marla came out. She had the transit pants on she had the old school sister slippers, and them sisters know what I'm talking about. They wasn't the fuzzy ones, but it was like the old school ones. She had like a Jammin' Z 90 shirt on, I believe, and man, she is. When I saw her, I was like, dang. Fine, right? Just man, she long nails, just bad hair, perm, right? You don't say nothing about your boy Ricky Valens. El DeBarge ain't got nothing on me. I slap El DeBarge. You know what I'm saying? Y'all see what we got going on right here. And that was our wedding night, August 12th, 1995. That was probably about 8 p.m., maybe something like that. Man, that was right at Euclid and Imperial. Y'all better ask somebody. We rode through the hood. We rode through the hood in our limo. We got married at oh my gosh, man, my brain is fried. New Creation. We got married at New Creation Church at Altadena in Euclidish. And yeah, man, we stopped by her house. I thought she was bad. I asked her friend, I asked my friend Shelly, man, can you get her number? Here's what's funny. Me and my boy JoJo was shooting rocks. Because the side of the driveways break up, and so the little pavement that came off there, we were shooting it into the trash can across the street, and it was like, hey, whoever because we both thought she was fine, no question about it. Like, hey, whoever get the rock in the trash first, get her phone number. We arrogant, thinking whatever. He got it first. I was like, man, you cheated, man. Hold on. So I was like, man, we got to do it again. So long story short, we was pulling away, and I just asked her homegirl, could you get her number for me? Would you mind if I give her a call, would you ask? So I got her phone number. I called her, and man, we just became best friends, man. She was my best friend. We talked about everything. She was going through a breakup. I went through a breakup, and man, we just became friends, man. And yeah, our first date, the first thing I ever asked Marla out to, that was to church. I asked her to come to church with me, and she was like, nah, I don't want to go to church. Not that she was against church, but she was like, I don't want to wear stockings and a dress. I was like, I don't even go to a church like that. Where I go to church I wear flip-flops and jeans and, T-shirts or whatever. She was like, what? I said, she said, if you wear jeans, if I wear jeans, will you? I said, I go with jeans all the time. So we showed up to church, and that was it. She started going to church with me on a regular basis. I knew that I was 23 years old when we met. And then 24, I was in barber college at the time, and I had been talking to my mentors about, hey, I really like this lady, man. I mean, she's like the bomb to me. Like she's, we get along, whatever. I want to get married, but I don't know if I'm ready. And one of my mentors, I'll never forget him, man, Ron Williams, man, he passed away, rest in peace. And my mentor, Tim Huddleston, he was actually my mentor and my sponsor in Alcoholics Anonymous. And Tim was definitely one of the closest people that I've ever had in my life. He was the person that taught me the value of telling the truth and telling on myself. I learned about truth before I went to church. I'll just say that right now, before I became a Christian. Learned about telling on myself. And then Ron was like, man, you're never going to be ready. You're never going to have enough money. You're never going to be ready. You'll always find another excuse. If you love her, just be a man. If you're going to be a man, you know what I mean? And so one day I wanted this necklace that my wife had got for her ex-boyfriend. I saw it and I was jealous. I was like, I want this necklace. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, you my girl now. Like, what's up? You know what I mean? But I had this thought. And that's why I thank God for mentors. I thank God for mentors, because in my brain, I said, man, before you ask her to, and I actually wanted her to throw away this little gift bag full of birthday and Christmas cards that she got from her ex too. And I was sitting in her room, and before I said anything, a thought came to my mind. Why don't you make a commitment to her before you ask her to do something serious? Be a man. Don't ask her to do something to prove her love and loyalty to you if you haven't done the same for her. And I never said anything to her about the necklace or about the birthday cards. I went and started talking to my mentors. Like, I think I want to get married. And then he was like, you'll never be ready, all that. So going back to the barber college, or going back to church, I called her from barber college. I was like, hey, just a quick question. If somebody like asked you to marry them or whatever, like what, would you say no? Or I forgot how I asked. It was something stupid like that, right?
If somebody asked you about getting married.
You ain't got, man, listen, my wife didn't marry no genius. Unfortunately, Marla Denise didn't marry no genius, and it's too late now. We too deep into it now. But so I invited her. We went to church. A good friend of mine, my brother was there. She didn't even know what was going on. It never dawned on her. But I proposed to my wife in church, in front of my church family, and it was during a testimony service, and I proposed to her in front of, I was 24 years old, and I wasn't 24. I think I was at the end of being 23. I think I was 24. I wasn't 25 yet. And then we got married, man. And one last thing I'll share about her that was really dope to me, that was a life changer and showed me the character of my bride. When the invitations came, it was probably 400 invitations that came.
Right.
With all this stuff, we telling people we engaged now, we all this stuff, right? So we in deep. And I said, hey, I think I'm getting cold feet. I don't know. And I was like, I'm embarrassed to say it, but I don't know if I'm ready. And instead of going, what you mean? And all that, she was like, hey, they're just invitations. We ain't got to do nothing right now. If you're not ready, you're not ready. And I knew right then, I was like, that was incredible. So needless to say, August 12, 1995 at 6 p.m., New Creation Church, we was walking down the aisle. And this year, August 12th, 2025 is our 30th wedding anniversary. I've been with this woman almost 32 years, and I still kiss her in the mouth. I still love her. I still look at her booty and everything. That's my girl. You know what I'm saying? I love my wife 100%. Love my wife.
And she's an amazing woman. I've had an opportunity to spend time around her, and we all know she had to be amazing because we know who you are, and that's not an easy handle.
I don't need you and Pastor Brooks to say that to her every time you see her either. Every time he sees her, he goes, sister, I'm still praying for you. Like, man, you know what I'm saying? What am I like? Chopped liver?
What? Because
you see what I was when she married me, Mike? Did you see?
We seeing it. We seeing it all.
I'm actually looking for that photo, man. Now, I was still on probation back then. I need that photo. So I gotta go back and find that for our NPR video. But I was on probation then, man. What I wouldn't do for hair. Man, what I wouldn't do for hair. I look weird. I look like a weird.
I was gonna find some photos of you with hair because I knew they had to exist. Because most barbershops that we go to, we don't want all the bald men cutting our hair. So there had to be back in the day.
Shout out to my boy Antonio, who was my barber. He used to get me right all the time. My boy Antonio, he used to cut my hair, did me right too. One of the best barbers I've ever had.
Amen. Amen. So talk a little bit about what it was that excited you about joining fire service.
I love to help people. I grew up next to a fire station in Minnesota, like right at the end of our block was a fire station. And I met an African-American firefighter there. All the firefighters there were super cool, but this one brother used to always be outside. His name was Artie Hill, and he was always outside. We just, I loved talking to him. Man, I got my butt whooped real bad one time at the fire station. Like, I remember the smell going in the fire station, the way it smelled. There's this unique smell that I don't smell it often anymore, but when I do, it's very nostalgic. I've always been excited. And then a really good friend of mine, my brother Fletcher Webb, he's a retired fire captain. I saw him and my brother used to be roommates, and I saw the life that he lived, and he had a nice truck. He's never complained about going to work. It looked like he was having fun. And I met some guys when I worked at Costco that used to come shop at Costco all the time on the fire engine, and just getting to meet him. And then I had a couple of clients as a barber. That's how I found out about EMT school. And it was something that I just felt compelled and drawn to, something I knew that I had to do at some point in my life. And the opportunity presented itself. And by the grace of God, the timing was perfect. And here I am.
And going into that, did you have any concerns about whether you were going to be able to be successful? I mean, it's one thing to have a dream about something. It's another thing to believe that I can accomplish anything that's in front of me. What was your mindset going into the training to become a firefighter?
No, when I started, I already knew like it was going to happen. Like there was no like what if, and none of that mattered. I was going to get the job. There was no question. When I put my mind to something, it's going to happen. It doesn't. I wish I could think like that all the time, but there's those moments where things happen and I'm like, no, this is the way it's supposed to be. Like, I'm definitely going to get this job. There's no question about it. And it was a job at the time. What I now know is it wasn't a job. This is not a job. It's a career. And
Right.
what I know now is that I'll do whatever I have to do to get whatever I have to get if I really wanted it. And I just had enough information to know that this is something that I wanted to do. And so I set my mind to it. And like I said, having someone like Chief Logan with me that was just as driven.
Right.
We're like the yin and yang. I always tell people, like, at the end of all the chaos, Chief Logan's going to come out on the other side walking the same straight line he was always walking. He's not going to be deterred for anything. And I'm like a butterfly in a windstorm. I'm like, I'm going to come out all tattered, and he's going to smack me in the back of the head and say, man, get over here and come on. And, and so thank God I had someone like him. They say if you want to go somewhere fast, go by yourself. But if you want to go long, if you want to go a long distance, then you go with somebody. I knew that this was going to be a long distance marathon. So I knew that I had to go with someone, and I'm grateful that I had Chief Logan there to keep me going. I met some really good mentors along the way that helped me. And I just knew in my heart, this is something that I had to do. And I knew that I was going to do it.
And I got another photo of you at the beginning of this journey, right? And I wish I could light it up a little bit, but that's you on one of your first calls, right?
One of my first fires, I was at Fire Station 17 with Captain Haynes, 487, I think it's 483 Shimon Avenue, with a cross of orange in City Heights, one of the busiest fire engines in the country. I was on probation, hence the orange shield. Right. I remember that fire. It was really early in the morning. We was coming down the hill on Fairmont, flying in the engine. And I'll never forget, man. And Captain Haynes looked over and saw what we call the header, the smoke coming. And he said, looks like we got ourselves a fire. And he's from Coons, Texas. So he always sounded kind of country every once in a while. And
right.
Man, that was after the fire. Ironically, and that day he kicked the door in. He like donkey kicked it, boom, and kicked the door in. We went in, and there was nothing at the bottom. But when we got up to the second floor, everything was on fire, and it was super hot. And I was on the I was on the nozzle, what they call being on the nozzle, and I was
Right.
low. They take you to get low. I was low going up, and the person behind me. One of the things that you don't realize when you're behind someone is they become a shield. So he didn't know Todd was his name. Todd didn't know that it was 1,500 degrees. So he kept pushing me into the fire, and I'm trying to put it out, and he didn't realize that it was really hot, and I didn't want to be a chump. So I just kept doing it, man. And at the end of the fire, we went outside, and I didn't realize this till we got back to the fire station. After all of this, I realized that my ears were burning. When I went to the shower, I was like, man, my ears hurt. Ow. And then I was sitting there with my uniform on, getting ready to be relieved. And I think Captain Haynes or somebody walked up to me and was like, man, look at your ears. And I had giant blisters on my ears because I had second-degree burns on my ears. And then we went to look at my face mask, and my face mask was crazed. It was so hot that it caused my mask to crack all the way around. It was crazy. And I got burned. My ears got burned really bad. But I was like, man, we here now. Let's go, baby. You know what I'm saying? So that was like one of my first big fires. It wasn't my first one, but it was the first good one, man. And that's what a good 2 hours worth of work looks like in my business right there.
So did that work as a firefighter, as a first responder? Did that seem to fit really well with what you described as your addictive personality? The fact that you could do that type of work, that there was such an adrenaline ride and rush from the job, or is it mostly just a lot of sitting around and you get a couple fires every now and then? What was it like for you back then?
Yeah, I always say to people, firefighters, we don't get paid for what we do. People say, oh man, you guys sit around a chair. That people don't understand. That's fine, but we get paid for what we will do. Because when you need somebody to come in at a moment where you can't help yourself, you don't know who else to call the fire department. That's what we say. When you exhaust all your resources, call us. We got the answer. And so I realized that there's a lot of things that go on during our day. We don't just sit around. There are times when we sit around and we got to eat, and we do trainings and we have meetings and things like that. But depending on where you work in the city, there's some times where, I've worked on engines where you run 30 calls in a day. And if you do the math on a 24-hour shift, if all of our calls are maybe 15, 20 minutes each, 15 minutes, and you do 30 calls, you do the math of what your day is going to look like, right? There's times where I just fall asleep on the fire engine because I'm like, ain't no sense in going back upstairs at 3 a.m. because we're going to be right back down at 3:30. So I just fall asleep on the fire engine. And do that all the time, depending on where you work at and stuff. So there are times when we don't do a whole lot, but most of the time we're like an insurance. We're a 24-hour at the moment insurance. We're the people that when everything falls apart, you call and we come to try to remedy the situation. And I like that because the fire department, for me, somebody that has ADD, look at me. I'll talk about that in a second. That was a really important moment right there. It's Hollywood looking, but that was a really important moment in the city. We respond in the moments when I don't remember my train of thought. I can't remember. So we're gonna go back to this. That stare right there, man. That brother right there made me a little nervous. I don't know who that is right there. That's really not me, but
he's real serious because he's got some important message to get out.
There's no
we're working on.
100%. There's no doubt. This was Measure D here in the city of San Diego. I worked with the San Diego Building and Construction Trades Council. Shout out to Carol Kim, who is the business manager for the trades, and Danielle, who makes things happen. My boy AJ, the political director. All the folks at the trades and everybody in the 22 different trades that has shown love to the nonprofit and stuff. We love you. Very, very grateful. But this was some political work that we did. This was talking about how Measure D can help with the fire department, stuff like that. So this was a commercial that we did that was all over TV, all over everywhere. People in the prison were like, man, I saw you on TV and, whatever. So it was really cool to get a chance to do that. A little bit of acting that I did on my day off to help the building trades.
And so talk a little bit about, I skipped from one of your early fires to this relatively recent photograph of you as somebody who can be a spokesperson on behalf of your agency. Talk a little bit about how that journey was from somebody on probation, rushing into 1,500-degree fires, burning their ears and all that stuff, to this guy that's model ready, right? Hollywood ain't got nothing on him.
I don't know about model ready, but I was ready. I always say I'm ready even if I can't go. The Bible says that a man's gifts will make a place for him and bring him before great men. And so this particular picture, in this instance, for this particular thing, I wasn't necessarily speaking on behalf of the fire department. This was more just on behalf of firefighters. But I have spoken on behalf of our department. I do as a recruiter. I'm on the news quite a bit, not quite a bit, but I'm on the news some. And but I'm also a public information officer. So when there's big fires around the state, I could be sent across the state to be a part of the incident, to represent the incident to the public. I've been doing that for the past 20 years. So that's something I really enjoy doing. But the truth is just the experience that I've had over time, being this is my 25th year. I've learned a lot, and then I just have a gift. I love to, anything I care about, I love to talk about it. And I care about the fire department. I care about firefighters. I care about the image of them. I care about the fire service. I care about the work that we do that seldomly gets noticed, and we don't do pat on the backs. We're not into that. We don't go to calls and stay up all night so you can bring us flowers and say thank you. But as a person who understands human behavior and human need, the need to be appreciated is something that people have. And so I know that my coworkers and other firefighters across the country and, across the state aren't looking for thank yous, but I know that that's important. So I love to do that whenever I can. And so if I can do something on behalf of people that do what I do for a living, certainly I want to do that. So that's what that ad was there.
So let's talk a little bit about that. One of the things I loved when I first started going to Bayview is the fact that among the people that they take time to honor are, hey, let's celebrate our first responders, right? If anybody is a first responder, stand up, round of applause. We thank you for what you do. I know you say people don't go into that career for that type of recognition, but talk a little bit about what it's like to have a job that's so meaningful that there's not much public acknowledgement for. That you're the one, your words, right? You're the one who don't know who to call fire service, and we'll likely take care of it. And then you probably won't thank us later for what we did. What's it like to do that over time? Because we've talked to some other folks on our podcast that have worked in fire service and realized that can be a distressing job over time. What's it been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, just because firefighters don't get the thanks doesn't mean that being appreciated doesn't matter, as I said. And I think over time we trained ourselves to say, that we don't need any thank yous. We don't do it for that, whatever. And I think a lot of that is kind of where that mental health piece comes in, that makes it difficult for firefighters to deal with their mental health, because the things that we get to see, I don't say have to, because no one has to be a firefighter. You don't have to do this. I get to be one. And so the things that I get to see in my career, in my profession, the things that I've had the opportunity to witness, heinous, just crazy things that whatever. I tell people, there's sometimes that we go on calls that what we saw on that call looks like what we're eating for dinner. And you just go, well, give me another bowl. I want another bowl of it. It's whatever. You just learn. I learned to suppress that stuff. We learned to not be appreciated. We learned to we just learned that that's just what we do. And over time, we've heard that enough to where we say we didn't come in here to be appreciated. And maybe we didn't. But the truth is that when you're out saving lives, staying up all night, missing holidays, missing a lot of firsts with your children, you don't get to, I told my wife when I first started, we might not get a Christmas. I don't know, there's times where we're going to miss Christmas. And so we have to alter our life. We have to schedule birthdays and other things around my work schedule. I don't get to just say, you don't have, our schedule is beautiful until it's not. Right. It's awesome until you need every Tuesday off, and you don't get every Tuesday off. when you work the type of schedule that we work. You get some Tuesdays off. And so we just learn over time to just let those things go. And we act like it doesn't bother us. And we don't even address it because we've been told for so long that firefighters aren't supposed to do this. Firefighters aren't supposed to feel this way. Firefighters don't feel this way. Firefighters don't take calls home with them. Firefighters learn how to compartmentalize things. And I realized in my life, that's not true. I thought that I was doing that. And then I came home 10 years ago and told my wife, I don't want to get a divorce. I still love you and all that, but I just don't want to come home no more. And I don't know what's going on. So we started going to counseling 10 years ago. And,
Right.
But it's one of those things where I think it's important for firefighters to be recognized for the things that they do. But it's difficult for firefighters still to get that praise. Like the Padres and other businesses around the county will give us free tickets to go to things. There's first responder appreciation nights that we do with San Diego State, with with the Aztecs, with the soccer clubs, all of that stuff. The Wave, the women's soccer team do stuff.
Right.
It's like, thanks, but like, I mean, we'll go, but it's like we don't. It's hard to get people to get on the field and wave to everybody and say thank you. Most people just don't want to do that. Or you go to a fire and something happens, which leads to like why I became a public information officer, is that I like that people show up on fires and put the microphone in front of someone's face, and guys don't want to, and gals don't want the camera. But I'm like, I want to tell the story. I want to say, hey, they got to this fire really, really fast. And what you see here is not what would have been had they not been here. The things that these women and men do for you on a regular basis that you don't know is really, really important. And here are some of the things that they do. Here are some of the things that you don't see. And so somebody needs to tell that story. And really, a lot of people don't want to do it and don't feel called to do that either. And it takes a special person to be able to, because you only get one shot when you're live. You got to be able to say the things without putting yourself in a corner where you say something offensive or something that you're going to have to explain or something dumb. You know what I mean? You really want to know. And so I just feel like I got a knack for doing that type of stuff. And because I have so much time on the job and I know what's happened to me, and I just believe that if it's happened to me, it probably happened to somebody else too.
Right. So let me go back for just a second, because you do what many of our guests tend to do, which is you get to that thing that's really impactful. Yeah. I was at this place 10 years ago where I was feeling, and you don't really describe the feeling, and you describe the events, and then we kind of move forward. So I want to go back for just a moment, spend a little time in what were you feeling 10 years ago? What had led up over time, right? You with fire service for a while. Was it something that had been building over time that never got addressed? Or had you tried to address it along the way, and 10 years ago, it just got to the point where it's like, I don't know what to do now?
Yeah. So I was going to ask you the question, but you definitely already know because of the line of work that you do. But what I attribute it to, I think, is just over time, I got to see reality. One of the things that firefighters, at least one of the things that we get to see is reality. So I ask people, why shouldn't you drink and drive? Why shouldn't you? Or why is it important not to text while you're driving? Or why is it important to wear a seatbelt? Why is that important? And most people go, because, and they give you some theory. The theory of this happened. This is a theory because possibly, well, I've seen it with my own eyes why you shouldn't text and drive. I see what happens when you don't wear a seatbelt. I see people fly out of the car. I see when you drive drunk and you drive the opposite direction on the freeway and crash into a tow truck. And I look inside the car and thought that it was a tree, and it was actually a body that had burned till it was absolutely unrecognizable, right? With body parts flung down the freeway. I know why you shouldn't do these things firsthand. And I think over time, just understanding the reality and like being faced with my own mortality, and like the Bible talks about that life is like a vapor, and it's like if you really I think most people just kind of go to work every day and just think, oh, I'll see you later. And you might not see you later. Like, no, you literally might not come home today. And people say, well, don't put that in the air. First of all, you don't have power to dictate what God is going to do in my life. You can say whatever you want to about me, to me, about what I'm trying to do. You can't curse nothing I'm trying to do. You can't make nothing I'm trying to do happen. Whatever God got for me, ain't nobody in the world can do anything to stop it, because if God is for me, he's more than the world against me. That's what I kind of realize now. But I think I started taking on a lot of that reality that you might not come home. Seeing babies that didn't make it, little babies that never did, seeing babies crack their heads open. So I don't want that to happen to my kids. You know, you go on that call and come home and call hey, the kids all right, everybody all right. I see this wife who lost her husband that lost their wife. And I think over time, it just like I started getting depressed and just like life is stupid. Like this is like, you know, and I wasn't like suicidal or anything that I know of, but it was just like, I just, the zest for life was gone. It's like, and then maybe I think I wanted fireworks when I came home and all these kinds of things that it was like, I just come home and it's like, hey, what's up, man? What's up? Yeah, I mean, it's like, do you know what I did last night? You know what I'm saying? Like I just, you know, and then being tired. You don't sleep the same. You sleep with one eye open when you're at the fire station because you know you're going to get a call. So you can't get into deep sleep. So over time, it wears on your body. And I think I'm grateful that God woke me up to show me that I needed to get some help. And so I did and started going to counseling and realized what my work life was doing to me and how it was affecting me mentally. So I don't know that there was one instance that I could point to say, this is why it happened. But I think over time and therapy helped me to sort of look through some of that. And I didn't want to be at home, but I didn't want to not be at home either. And I didn't know what to do with it. So I was depressed and all kinds of stuff. And I just didn't realize that I had normalized what it felt like. And I just normalized it. This is just what firefighters feel like. And hey, it's all good. But it wasn't.
You hadn't talked about it, so let me ask. Were you talking to other firefighters about what they were going through? Or is it kind of a culture there where no one really talks about it?
Back then, it was like nobody talked about it. Back then, everybody was feeling like that. I don't know if everybody, I don't know if everybody was doing anything, but like, yeah, I mean, nobody was saying, hey man, like, one of the good things is like we would go to a call, and what is normal in the fire department is like you go to a call and you see something really bad, and on the way back we go, dang man, but it tends to be not, man, are you all right? It doesn't tend to be that. It tends to be like a joke. Man, did you, golly, man, did you? And it was not like nobody thinks any of that stuff is funny, but what do you do with that? Like, what do you do when you see like somebody shoot themselves? You like literally saw somebody that committed suicide, and like you hear his mother screaming and like, oh my God, you see the gun laying under the bed and you see the bullet hole in the wall and he just a young man just dead, right? Or the guy hanging in the garage from a PlayStation controller. I'll never look at a corded PlayStation controller the same again, because I saw a young man that hung himself in a garage and he was playing This Is For My Homies. And like, what do you like? There's like, we would make a joke about that, but it wasn't because it was funny. It was because it was traumatizing. And what do we do about that? So no, people weren't talking about it, but now we are. Mental health is a big thing right now, and I'm a big proponent of it.
Okay. And you said right now, I assume that means within the fire department, there are programs, mechanisms, counselors, whatever available?
Very, very much so. Nobody has to go through a mental health crisis by themselves in the San Diego Fire Department, ever. We're very big on that. We do after actions. We have therapy dogs. We have peer support counselors or peer support folks that are on our job. So like if I went on a call one time, a lady jumped off Petco Park with her baby. Craziest, man, it was just crazy. And like before we even got back to the station, it was like, hey, the peer support's coming by. They brought their dog and they brought some peer support, some other firefighters that, it was difficult for you. You can't just come in and like, it's like, what do you know about what we're doing? You know what I mean? But peer support came and we went out of service and we just went around like, how you doing? How you doing? How's everybody feeling? And it's like, man, it was the first time I'd been through that. I was like, wow, that's kind of a trip. Like, they weren't forcing you to say nothing. They're not look me in the eye, lay on the couch and tell me about your mama. You know, it wasn't like nothing like that, but it's just, hey, you just saw something that's not normal. Most humans in the world are not going to see that, but you did. So, like, how's your body feeling right now? Anything? No. Okay, no big deal. But if you know, and then some people go, hey, well, this, and then well, you know what? I got that too. Well, hey, what about? Hey, it kind of reminds me of this, or hey, and before you know it, like we kind of had an hour-long conversation. Nothing deep, but just realizing that, man, this stuff really does something to us. And so those things happen regularly on our job now when there are calls that are deemed necessary, not your average asthma. Somebody has asthma, every asthmatic call you go on, but something that's a little out of the ordinary, or a shooting or something like that. That's, or, you know, if a cop gets killed or something
Right.
that's like out of, I don't want to say out of the ordinary because everything's out of the ordinary
Amen.
for the average person, but for us, it's not the average thing. So we've done really, really good over time, building a mental health system that addresses needs. And we're trying to do things one thing that we do now is when the new firefighters come on the job, before they hit the line or before they go into the fire station, we have a family day. And they come in and they talk to the families about here's what they're going to be facing. Here's kind of how you can help. And then they'll ask me and my wife to come in and we'll get to tell our story about what happened. And so we'll talk about over time. And I tell them right then, don't be a superhero when it comes to your mental health. Be vulnerable. And here's the things that you can do, right? Weakness is actually letting something harm you and you don't even address it. Don't look at it. That's actually weakness or whatever. And so when I'm around the fire station, I brag about having a counselor. I talk about going to therapy. I've been doing it for 10 years. I tell everybody, man, you going to therapy? You married? Have you been to therapy? So, and I don't force it on anybody, but I just normalize it because everybody kind of knows me on the job. So it's like, you know, and I just want people to know it's okay not to be okay. And other people have went through traumatic things and people have seen them like tank, almost lose your job. And you go through our mental health system and now you're a beacon of hope and light to other people and they feature you to tell your story. Let me say one last thing about that when we first started this, that was interesting is one of the guys on the job got 2 DUIs and he was going to lose his job. And for the first time, for whatever reason, I don't remember the exact facts, but something about it where he wasn't going to lose his job. And I'm grateful. But he actually was able to make a video and talk about what he did and how bad what he did was and what he learned from it. That was the first time that somebody that I remember, somebody being able to say, man, I actually have a problem. And like, look at what it almost cost me kind of a thing. And he's still a respected person on our job. He's made a total change. I'm grateful that they did that for him. But that I think was like the start of like something that we began to build on. So that was a forward thinking chief that was like, you know what, instead of hiding it and let people create rumors about what you did and whatever, why don't you get on and say what happened? And then nobody can steal it from you and make a story that didn't happen. You get on. And so we played it at our in-service training. It still lives in an archive file. So if somebody wants to go back and watch it. So shout out to the man who did that. That was pretty life-saving right there. I thought that was amazing.
Amen. And we've joked through our podcast that you and I can talk for hours, and we certainly can tonight. But I want to turn to something else if I can, because you're involved in so many different things. And talk a little bit about this photograph with you, because this is you once again at a TV news station, because that's where you hang out. But talk a little bit about what's on your shirt, with who those two men are, and why you're at KUSI 9 News talking about that.
So about 6 years ago, began a ministry, really. That works with formerly incarcerated women and men to get them connected to careers in the building trades. And this was right at the beginning, like our logo is not even that anymore. But at the beginning of our getting out there amongst the people, we were on the news quite a bit, telling our story and talking about what we do. And these two brothers are brothers that I asked to be a part of what we were doing at the time because of what they were doing in their careers. One of them became a carpenter. The one on the left became a carpenter, and the one on the right became an electrician. And I know that Coach Ed won't mind me telling his story, but I don't want to share the other brother's story without his permission. But he's doing
Right.
really, really well. Super proud of him. Coach Ed was formerly incarcerated. That hero thing that's a vision he has for something that he does personally about the hero within you, and it means something. And this was when he first started in his trade as an electrician. He's now a general foreman. He became a general foreman. He just graduated late last year from his IBEW Local 569, the electricians 5-year apprenticeship program, as a journeyman electrician. And then soon after, a few months after he journeyed out, he became a general foreman. So now he's a general foreman working at the airport. So he's running a big part of a job now as an electrician. And so I'm super proud of him, super proud of both of them. But what we do in our organization is we focus on life skills, rebuilding the family, rebuilding the community, and civic engagement. And the whole goal of our work is to reduce recidivism, increase public safety, and change the narrative about what it means to be formerly incarcerated. And so we believe that jobs aren't what make people better, and jobs don't keep people from prison. It's certainly a piece of it, but having a job is not enough to keep someone from, it doesn't reduce recidivism, right? Jobs don't do that. But what does reduce recidivism is people becoming whole people. So we believe if you learn life skills, we talk about everything from anger management to money management. If you can rebuild your family, if you've been gone 10 years and you come home, your wife wants you to be a husband, even if she knows you can't do it perfectly, there's an expectation that many times is not talked about. So you come home and it's like, can you go to PTA with me? Well, I just want you to be with me, she's thinking, right? But you're thinking, I don't want these people to ask me where I've been. And all of a sudden they think I'm a monster, whatever. So we want to change that narrative. And those are things that need to be talked about. I want you to be a father or a mother to your kids. Well, I've been gone 10 years. I don't know how to do any of that. Like, I just want to walk on carpet for the first time in 10 years. And you want me to I want to be a part of it. And a lot of the folks, when they come home, really want to step into those roles and do them well. But that's not something you just fall into. You actually have to work on being a father, work on being a mother, work on being a spouse or a loved one. You have to work on that stuff, and creating the space for that is important. And then rebuilding the community. If you tore up the community, you have a responsibility to go back and invest into what you tore down. So we do a lot of community service stuff. And then civic engagement. Politicians have no business making laws and rules about people's lives if they're not affected by it. So people that are affected by the laws and rules that you're making or enforcing, they should be at the table to help you to figure out what to do. So that's kind of what we do in our organization. The technical name of our organization is Building Justice. I got that name from Tasha Williamson. Shout out to my sister Tasha. That was an organization name that she was going to start, but because she was running for mayor, she wasn't able to do it. So she said I could have the name, and she asked me to use it, and it made sense. Building, working with the building trades. Justice is something that we believe in. So Building Justice made total sense. But people know us on the street for homework. We're Sharks. Homework. That's the street name. That's our hood name, is Homework. So
okay.
Shout out to my Homework family.
So talk a little bit about how you got involved in that work, right? You're doing your commitment. You're all in on your career in fire service, and this is on top of, in addition to.
Sure.
How do you connect those two paths?
Yeah, I love to help people, again, spiritually. The Bible says, Jesus says in the end, when people stand before him, one of the ways that he separates the good, the wicked from the just people or whatever, the saved, unsaved, however you want to say it, is, when I was hungry, you fed me. When I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. I was naked and you gave me something to wear. And when I was in prison, you came to visit me. And they're like, well, when were you ever hungry, naked, thirsty, or in prison? And he said, whenever you do it to the least of these, you've done it for me. And so my philosophy is, if I want to know where God is, I need to go to where the least of them are. That's where you're most likely going to find God. And so I just realized that the people that get thrown away a lot are people in prison. I want to send a special shout out to Dennis Martinez, He's a former pro skater from back in the 70s. He and I became friends and brothers in Christ. And he kind of got me hooked in to going to Calipatria State Prison way out east.
Right.
And I just met some incredible men. One of them is Wayne Weston Burleson, a really good friend of mine that had a life without sentence. And one day, 6 years ago, I said, man, let's petition the governor to get your sentence commuted. And he was like, no, I don't want to do it. Long story short, we put a packet together, and by the grace of God, the community members, Genevieve Jones Wright, Tasha, Tom Lemon, who was another person that was with me in the beginning when we started Homework, Manny Vasquez was with me. We were like the trio. We wrote a packet for him, and he's home now. And so I've just seen going into the prison, it's something that I love. Being inside, it's hard to explain to people what it feels like to be inside the prison, to be amongst those men. Some of the best spiritual experiences I've ever had were inside Donovan State Prison, in the worship sense, in the teaching sense at Calipatria State Prison with Wayne Burleson and Christopher Hernandez, who's still incarcerated now. But some of the best teaching I ever had, some of the best worship experiences I've ever had came from inside the prison. And it's just something I fell in love with, man. We used to drive 2.5 hours there, 2.5 hours back every Saturday to go spend time at Calipatria. And it was just something I didn't mind doing, man. I fell in love with it, and I've been in love with it for over 20 years. And I'll say on Thursday, a real blessing is happening on Thursday. We have an opportunity to go to Donovan State Prison for the past 3 months.
Right.
The mental health doctor and the recreational therapist, shout out to Dr. Baru and Miss Keene. They got an idea through Leslie Lake, who is a member of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I always got to shout out the ladies from Delta. Everybody knows I love Deltas. I love all the ladies in the sororities, but I always tease and I start trouble with AKs and everybody because I know. But that's not what we're talking about right now.
Right.
Donovan got a hold of Leslie. Leslie and I were talking. She said, hey, they had this idea. We all connected, and before you know it, boom, they did a 3-month parenting class, and they wanted to have a father-child dance at the end of it. And so Thursday, we're going to go in. The men finish with their parenting class, and so the men get a chance to, their daughters or children are going to come and have a dance. We bought our nonprofit Building Justice. By the grace of God, we were able to help sponsor the event, and we bought all the men's suits. So you got guys with pink suits, brother with a burgundy suit, some dudes with baby blue suits, and you know what I'm saying, black or burgundy with like the black paisley. I mean, fresh. We bought them all Air Force Ones. It's going to be a sneaker ball. So I want to shout out to Alonzo Harvey. We were able to buy our shoes from Alonzo. So that was really, really good to be able to get it within budget. So that because we had a certain limit that we could spend on shoes due to CDCR donation limits. And so the guys are going to get a chance to wear suits and be regular. We're going to cater the event, have a DJ, things like that. They're just going to get to spend time with their kids in a sense of normalcy. And some of them have never met their children before, and their children are 17 years old and they've never seen them in person. So that's the reason why we do what we do. And I'm just really grateful for the opportunity to be able to serve that way.
Right. And it's amazing what you do and the things that you manage to find time to do. I remember when I moved downtown less than 2 years ago, and I was like, Jason, I'm close now. So hook a brother up. Let me know what's going on. And I'll be honest, I can't keep up with your schedule. You are out and about on the constant. And I'm just so impressed at what you do, because in the midst of all that, and there's so much to talk about, and I realized I couldn't get to most of it in 75 minutes, but I want to talk a little bit about this version of you.
Hey, that's me on the back. That's me as a band member of the San Diego Firefighters Emerald Society, and that's my youngest daughter right there. That's one of the three loves of my life. That was me after Chief Logan's swearing in ceremony at Bayview Baptist Church.
Yep.
Shout out to my church, Bayview, my pastor, Pastor Brooks, and my incredible family. Our church, our pastor. And that was there. My daughter is actually really funny, and she said something slick and crazy and just had me cracking up, and somebody caught me in the moment.
So what was it about your life that you realized, what's missing is I haven't played the bagpipes yet?
I heard a tune called Highland Cathedral. It's a German tune that was picked up on the bagpipes, and I just heard it played. Bagpipes are it's a tradition in the fire department. It comes from the old Irish tradition. When the Irish came to New York, that's one of the things that they played at the funerals. In Ireland, that's what they do. So they brought that tradition to the fire department in America, and it just went across into all the fire service. Most fire service, if they have the opportunity, have a band that plays. And so we represent several fire departments in the county of San Diego. We have folks that are part of our band from multiple fire departments. And so I heard that tune. I had heard Amazing Grace. I just played at a funeral today. I actually got to solo the first part of Amazing Grace to a amazing battalion chief that was a mentor and friend of mine, that I played at his funeral today. But and Amazing Grace is normally played, and so I heard that at funerals. I've seen him at the fire department graduations, all of it. I've seen the bagpipes. And then when I heard Highland Cathedral back in September of 2023, I said, man, I want to learn how to play this tune. And I asked the band director, asked the pipe major, can I join the band? He said, absolutely. And he gave me the little practice chanter, and I started practicing, man. I would practice for 5 hours a day, every single day. And I got what they call kilted. I think I was kilted in like 6 months, which is unheard of. And and just because, like I said, when I am going to do something, I do it. And so I'm a proud member of the San Diego Firefighters Emerald Society now as a piper, and it's one of the highlights of my life.
And you've got a number of things that you're proud of. Talk a little bit about this photograph.
Man, well, there's a love of my life, Marla, right there, that sweet piece of chocolate right there. And I love her to life. If you're looking at the photo on the right, that's my oldest daughter, who's a graduate of the Howard University, the real HU, And so she's a nurse now, really grateful for her. And then all the way to the left is my baby girl, Naya, who is a Berkeley Bear, along with Alonzo Harvey. Shout out to my baby girl, Go Bears. And just a perfect school for her. She's phenomenal. Both my daughters are amazing. My wife homeschooled the one on my youngest daughter for her first 8 years, homeschooled the one on my right for a few years. They both graduated from traditional high schools, and both doing really, really well in college. My wife's been a stay-home mother for almost 17 years now. By the grace of God, the fire department allowed us to do that. And I got a community service award through the Johns, which is the kind of the community service wing. And they give a lot of scholarships and stuff to people in the building trades. They honored me 2 years ago with that award. And so that was me. And I'm actually a John. I've been a John now for 3 years, and they wear red bow ties. And so that was at the John's dinner that you'll be going to this year, because I don't think you've been yet. So you'll be going to the John's dinner this year, and you'll get to experience it yourself.
Outstanding. And talk a little bit about this award.
Hey, yeah, my partner, Mr. Millsap, he's a Millsap as well. I swear we're related. We never figured it out. Carlos Millsap is a friend of mine, super community member. He nominated me for the National Life Do Good Hero Award through National Life Group. And for whatever reason, they thought it made sense. It was a good fit. So I got an award and got a $500 donation to the Emerald Society band that I'm a part of. I used them as the ones that I wanted to give the money to. So that was what that was. I got the award last year from the National Life Group. So shout out to my brother Carlos for helping with that, facilitating that.
All right. Like I said, I could stay with you all night, but I'm looking at the time. We're about almost an hour 20. So let me do this, Jason. Let me turn it over to you, and let me open it up for you. this is your chance to speak directly to our audience. You know what the podcast is about. You know what your life's about. What's the one thing you want people to know, either about your life or about what they might be able to do with their lives, so that they can seem to get the joy out of their lives that you get out of yours?
Number one, I think is, I mean, it probably sounds easier than what it is, but don't quit. Don't quit. I see too often, and I've seen it in my own life, times that I quit 5 minutes before the miracle is going to happen. And so I believe that the reason why I have the outlook on life that I have right now is I believe that I have, as much as I can, a healthy outlook about who God is, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I realize that there's a lot of boogie men that I was afraid of in my life. One of them was truth. One of them was vulnerability. And I realized that there's no reason to be afraid of that. I learned something really a long time ago, ironically, through a movie, and it was 8 Mile with Eminem. And he did something at the end of 8 Mile that was a game changer for him. And when they made fun of him for being white, living in Detroit, and like, you know, just lived in a trailer park, had a dysfunctional relationship, everything was wrong. And they would always use that as a way to make fun of him and rap about him and embarrass him in front of everybody. Here goes the white boy. We about to talk about his mom being a dope fiend and his girlfriend sleeping with everybody and blah, 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 right? And so what he did at the end was he rapped about himself and he told on himself. And he took away they didn't have nothing to do. He took away all their ammunition. And that's kind of what I believe truth has done for me. My life is an open book. I really didn't care what you asked me about. I was going to tell you about it because my life is an open book. I always tell people, you can ask me anything you want. You just have to be ready for the answer. And I believe I learned early in Alcoholics Anonymous that if I tell on myself, if I want to tell on myself before myself tells on me. And the Bible says that eventually your sin is going to find you out anyway. People going to know eventually anyway. So I figured I need to get my life together, but then I need to be honest about the things that I struggle with, because I think it's dysfunctional and it's very unfortunate for me when I judge my insides, what I'm feeling, to what somebody's producing on the outside. One thing that my dad always told me is, just because a dog is wagging his tail doesn't mean that it's happy. And I think it's the same in life. We see people, we see Judge Washington. Oh man, Judge Washington got a Tesla. He live in this, I call it the George Jefferson apartments. He live in a deluxe apartment in the sky, right? He live way up. He got butlers at the doors. This is not the typical Negro right here, ladies and gentlemen. But this is not about him. He live in the George Jefferson apartments and stuff like that. But people don't realize that you got an entire life. And if they judge your outsides, if they judge their insides by your outsides, they're going to miss the fact that, and they should go back and watch the podcast about the things that you struggle with. And so for me, I think it's the same way. I want people to know that I'm not perfect, man. I got a great life, though. I'm so grateful. I'm so blessed to have the life I have. And I have had some insane things happen in my life. I'm talking about really bad things happen in my life. But there's a song the sister sang at the funeral today, and it's a song I love. It's an old Negro spiritual. And it talks about, I've had some good days and bad days. I've had some hills to climb, right? I've had some weary days and some sleepless nights. Oh, but when I stop and think, and when I stop and take a look and think things over, all of my good days outweigh my bad days, and I won't complain. And that's really like how I feel. And a lot of it is because I'm deepening my relationship and understanding about God and what he means and what he's done for me and what I've seen him do in other people's lives. And I just so happen to believe it. So I just want to encourage people, man, to don't quit. Tell the truth about yourself. You're not as bad as you tell yourself that you are. And most of the things that people are saying about you are things that you made up in your head. Most people don't spend their days thinking about us. They really don't. We think too much about ourselves. And it's actually okay to be who you are. You're exactly what God wanted you to be in this moment. And if you let him, he'll prove to you that everything that you've been through has a purpose. All things work together for good to them that love God and to them who are the called according to his purpose. And I truly, truly believe that. And so I just want to thank God for you, Mike, for Alonzo, brother James Fox, thank you for commenting. For everybody that encourages me on a regular basis, to my wife and daughters, my sister, Dr. Elsie, my brother Tom and Flip, my sister Dahia, all my cousins, everybody that has encouraged me, people on my job, Chief Logan, Pastor Brooks, all of our Bayview family that you know how it is, Mike. We walk in. It's I mean, it's like we don't know everybody, but it's just a weird way. But so tell on yourself, find you a good church home and find some people that can encourage you, and don't quit. See it through. It's important to see it through. So I'm just very, very grateful. Thanks for this time tonight. And I really, really appreciate you. Claude, we're going to get with you too, man. I saw your message the other day. But Mike, thank you for taking this time and letting me be a guest on the show. And lastly, I'll say thank you. Again, I say probably once a week, I'm like bragging about just how grateful I am that you forced my hand. The way that you asked me, you knew what you was doing too. Don't try to act all humble. God told me that, and it's like, dude, God used that moment in a powerful way. And the fact that you said, let's just do it. And I'm very, very grateful that you thought of me and that I got a chance to be a part of what you're doing here. I'm very, very thankful for it. So, and thank you for everybody who listened and will listen. I hope something of value was shared tonight. And I'm grateful to be able to tell a portion of my story. And good job, Mike, at making everything work. You're a master.
No, I appreciate that, Jason. One of the things I was excited about for tonight was the fact that I was going to be able to hopefully let people get to know you on a slightly deeper level than some people might have. One of the things I knew about you is you're on social media. And so for folks that wonder, all the photographs that I shared are all ones that were previously shared by you publicly online. And so I didn't dig into crates and pull out stuff that you, oh my gosh, where'd you get that from? Marla must have shared stuff without my permission or something. This is all stuff that you posted, but I wanted people to get a sense of who you are, because so many of us, myself included, often see you as just the guy who is charismatic, confident, courageous, and speaks in any circumstance with everybody. You're one of those people that remind me of those folks that say, everybody is my friend, I just haven't met some of the people yet. That's how you seem to live your life, that in a room full of people, 90% of them, and the other 10% you'll know in a year or so, because that's where your heart's drawn. And so I appreciate you for the gift that you've been to me, because you've drawn out that side of me. I was thinking today that I used to run a script in my head about who I was and where I liked to be and why I didn't like to be in groups and crowds. And I realized today that was just a story that I told myself, that I was the type of person that didn't get energy from being in groups. And it's because I didn't give energy being in groups. And you, great model and guide along the way. And so I can say with humility, asking you had nothing to do with me. It had everything to do with God, because I wanted to do the podcast on my own, because I tend to be that keep everything to myself type of guy. And what God helped me see is, by forcing me to ask you, that was the first break that had to take place. I couldn't hold on to it anymore, because I was taking it literally to someone else. And I knew by taking it to you, well, hell, you know too many people for me to keep it secret now. So it's going to be out there. And so what I want to thank the people that have watched this live today. That means a lot to us. And I also thank all those that have stayed with us this far in the episode to listen to this part at the end, because I thank you as well. I want to do what I do at every episode. I want to give Jason a chance to pray us home, and then we'll go ahead and close this episode. So Jason, I'll turn it back over to you.
Right on. Thank you, Claude. Again, thank you, Alonzo, James. Appreciate you, and everybody else. Grateful for you. So, Dad, I just want to say thank you. Grateful. Thanks for waking us up today. Thanks for letting us see another episode of this podcast. It's truly something that you've done. We're grateful for it. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share a bit of my story. Thank you for the things that you've done in my life that actually gave me a story. I'm grateful. I'm grateful that you encouraged me never to quit, even when I wanted to. So I pray for anybody that may hear this that needs to hear don't quit. I pray that you give them the courage to see it through. I am eternally grateful for my friend and my brother, Mike. I pray for him and Steph and for their marriage, for their relationship. Pray for her as she continues to teach in the environment that she's in now based on some recent events, and pray that you use her in a mighty way. And I pray that this podcast will do exactly what you intend for it to do. Help us to be good stewards. Don't get arrogant, thinking that we're anything. We're absolutely nothing. This thing could go away tomorrow. So help it not to be a part of our identity, but just something that we do, something that is on loan to us by you. And again, thank you. Bless the ears that have heard today, and anybody, again, that needs to hear from you, Dad. I pray that you would speak to them in their situation and cause something to happen. So I'm grateful for my life, grateful for my wife, grateful for my kids, and thank you for everything that you've done in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. So before we close out, I want to let people know for next week, a week from today, it's going to be the 1st of April, first Tuesday of the month. We won't be broadcasting, streaming live. We're going to be supporting the brothers Orgeray and Nate that were on our show previously as they do their live in-person show up at Malcolm X Library here in San Diego, 6:30 p.m. next Tuesday, April 1st. Come out and join them for Nurturing Brotherhood. It's a Black male mental health space where we can get together in person and talk about some of the things we do. Jason and I have been talking over the last couple of weeks about where Brothers Y'all Good is going to go in the future. One of the things we'll be doing is we're going to be bringing on some men from the D9 fraternities. So you're going to see some alphas, some kappas, some Qs, some sigmas, some iotas. We're going to bring them on, let them talk a little bit about their journey, what their challenges are, what their brotherhood walk means for them, and what their fraternities are doing in the community to make life better, not just for Black men, but for our entire community. So look forward to that. We're going to be planning some in-person events. You'll be hearing more about those in the future. So we thank everybody that's been a part of this. Appreciate your support. If you didn't watch it live, or excuse me, if you watched it live, but you want to share it with somebody who's not on Facebook, let them know it's going to be on YouTube. It's also going to be on Spotify tomorrow, so they can listen to us or watch us in those venues as well. And with that, we say peace and love to you. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate you as well. Love you, brother.
Love you too, man.
All right. We out.